Alright, that should take care of it. I swear, every time I update my computer, OBS decides that it's going to forget all of my audio settings. Right now, I don't have any monitor coming in through my headset, so I took it for granted that the music was playing, but I never piped the mic back through the headset, because that gets a little weird really quickly. Anyway, as I was saying, we're a little late tonight, but you know what? It's for very good reason. Yeah, it probably switches to a virtual audio device. Usually it switches to a default. Sometimes it keeps the same name as the old, which is extra confusing because then there's two of them. Windows and audio devices are not the best of friends. Never have been, never will be. Anyway, to take it back from the top, whenever I think of Hemingway, I think of hard drinking. So tonight, we are coming back with a martini, because of course. And, as always, if you're gonna do a martini, it really should be dry. And don't even get anywhere near me with that vodka nonsense. No. A martini is gin and vermouth, varying levels of vermouth. That is all. We are done. Done, sir. In this case, my vermouth usage was putting it in the shaker with the ice, dumping out the vermouth into the sink, and then adding the gin to the shaker. So, there's a suggestion of vermouth. It's not quite the super dry, the Churchill style, but those are fun from time to time, if you ever just really prefer to get just schnockered. See, lemon twist as garnish is fantastic. That requires keeping fresh lemons around, so for a home bar, not really my game. Out and about, absolutely. All right. So, as we were saying, or well, I was saying to the void, this is our fifth night of reading from Ernest Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms. Things have gotten rather dire for our point of view character here, as very quickly upon returning to the front, he was reintroduced to his friends, and they were assuring him that no, they'll never attack, it's just not the right time. The enemy attacked, and they've abandoned the forward base, they've abandoned the front line, and are caravanning off to a new hospital at the rear. Well, things went rather poorly, as you might expect, in the mountains and foothills in Italy. Rather muddy and disorganized mess, which depends entirely on what year you'd like to select. Could be very well relevant at any point. When you're out in the sticks, the roads not really reliable, particularly with the older cars like that, remember, these are turn of the century and not incredibly reliable. So, they've split off, and our point of view character, our main character, I guess, protagonist, protagonist is kind of a strong word for him, Federico, anyway, whatever we want to call him. He's not quite Henry. Yet. Had to lay down a little bit of Wild West justice, shall we say. A little bit of putting down some insubordination, and he and his men rather took a little relish in that. So, let's see how tonight will carry on. Whether they'll make it out from the shadow of the enemy, or they'll make it to the hospital relatively unscathed, or off into Lord knows where. So, let's shift over to our reading nook tonight, and we will see what we have ahead of us yet. So, resuming from... Where did I put my phone? It's not that important. I can do it from here. I rather forgot to repost the Bluesky thing. Did the Discord pings, but not the Bluesky. But that's an easy enough switch to find. There we are. We are set. Alright. And back we go. Alright, we are resuming tonight from Chapter 30 of A Farewell to Arms. Later, we were on a road that led to a river. There was a long line of abandoned trucks and carts on the road leading up to the bridge. No one was in sight. The river was high, and the bridge had been blown up in the center. The stone arch was falling into the river, and the brown water was going over it. We went on up the bank looking for a place to cross. Up ahead, I knew there was a railway bridge, and I thought we might be able to get across there. The path was wet and muddy. We did not see any troops, only abandoned trucks and stores. Along the riverbank there was nothing, and no one but the wet brush and muddy ground. We went up to the bank, and finally we saw the railway bridge. "What a beautiful bridge," Amo said. It was a long, plain iron bridge across what was usually a dry riverbed. "We better hurry and get across before they blow it up," I said. "But nobody's there to blow it up," Piani said. "They're all gone." "It's probably mined," Manila said. "You cross first, Tenente." Yes. In the time-honored tradition, expose the officers to the first danger. "Listen to the anarchist," Amo said. "Make him go first." "I'll go," I said. "It won't be mine to blow up with one man." "You see," Piani said, "that is brains. Why haven't you brains, anarchist?" "If I had brains, I wouldn't be here," Manila said. "That's pretty good, Tenente," Amo said. "That's pretty good," I said. We were close to the bridge now. The sky had clouded over again, and it was raining a little. The bridge looked long and solid. We climbed up the embankment. "Come one at a time," I said, and started across the bridge. I watched the ties and the rails for any tripwires or signs of explosive, but I saw nothing. Down below the gaps in the ties, the river ran muddy and fast. Ahead, across the wet countryside, I could see the Udine and the rain, see the Udine in the rain. Across the bridge, I looked back. Just up the river was another bridge. As I watched, A yellow, mud-colored motor car crossed it. The sides of the bridge were high, and the body of the car, once on, was out of sight. But I saw the heads of the driver, the man on the seat with him, and the two men on the rear seat. They all wore German helmets. A reminder for those of us who are not too clued into the peculiar helmetry used by the Germans in World War One. It's the ones with the spikes on them. Then the car was over the bridge and out of sight behind the trees and the abandoned vehicles on the road. I waved to Amo, who was crossing, and to the others to come on. I climbed down and crouched beside the railway embankment. Amo came down with me. "Did you see the car?" I asked. "No, we were watching you." A German staff car crossed on the upper bridge. A staff car? Yes. Holy Mary! The others came, and we all crouched in the mud behind the embankment, looking across the rails of the bridge, the fine line of trees, the ditch, and the road. "Do you think we're cut off then, Tenente?" "I don't know. All I know is a German staff car went along that road." "You don't feel funny, Tenente? You haven't got strange feelings in the head?" "Don't be funny, Bonello." "What about a drink?" Piani asked. "If we're cut off, we might as well have a drink." He unhooked his canteen and uncorked it. "Look, look," Amo said, and pointed toward the road. Along the top of the stone bridge, we could see German helmets moving. They were bent forward and moved smoothly, almost supernaturally along. As they came off the bridge, we saw them. They were bicycle troops. I saw the faces of the first two. They were ruddy and healthy looking. Their helmets came low down over their foreheads and the sides of their faces. Their carbines were clipped to the frame of the bicycles. Stick bombs hung handle down from their belts. Their helmets and their gray uniforms were wet, and they rode easily. Looking ahead and to both sides, there were 2, then 4 in line, then 2, then almost a dozen, then another dozen, then 1 alone. They did not talk, but we could not have heard them because of the noise from the river. They were gone out of sight up the road. "Holy Mary," Amo said. "They were Germans," Piani said. "Those weren't Austrians." "Why isn't there somebody here to stop them?" I said. "Why haven't they blown the bridge up? Why aren't there machine guns along this embankment?" "You tell us, Tenente," Bonello said. I was very angry. "The whole bloody thing is crazy. Down below they blow up a little bridge. Here they leave a bridge on the main road. Where is everybody? Don't they try and stop them at all?" "You tell us, Tenente," Bonello said. I shut up. It was none of my business. All I had to do was to get to Pordenone with the 3 ambulances. I'd failed at that. All I had to do now was get to Pordenone. I probably could not even get to Udine. Hell, I couldn't. The thing to do was to be calm and to not get shot or captured. "Didn't you have a canteen open?" asked Piani. He handed it to me. I took a long drink. "We might as well start," I said. "There's no hurry, though. Do you want to eat something?" "There's no place to stay," Bonello said. "All right, we'll start. Should we keep on this side, out of sight?" "We'll be better off on top. They may come along this bridge, too. We don't want them on top of us before we see them." We walked along the railroad track. On both sides of us stretched the wet plain. Ahead, across the plain, was the hill of Udine. The roofs fell away from the castle on the hill. We could see the campanile and the clock tower. There were many mulberry trees in the fields. Ahead, I saw a place where the rails were torn up. The ties had been dug out too and thrown down the embankment. "Down! Down!" Amo said. We dropped down beside the embankment. There was another group of bicyclists passing along the road. I looked over the edge and saw them go on. "They saw us, but they went on," Amo said. "We'll get killed up there, Tenente," Bonello said. "They don't want us," I said. "They're after something else. We're in more danger if they should come on us suddenly." "I'd rather walk here out of sight," Bonello said. "All right. We'll walk along the tracks." "Do you think we can get through?" Amo asked. "Sure. There aren't very many of them yet. We'll go through in the dark." "What was that staff car doing?" "Christ knows," I said. We kept up on the tracks. Bonello, tired of walking in the mud of the embankment, and came up with the rest of us. The railway moved south, away from the highway now, and we could not see what passed along the road. A short bridge over a canal was blown up, but we climbed across on what was left of the span. We heard firing ahead of us. We came up on the railway beyond the canal. It went on straight toward the town across the low fields. We could see the line of the other railway ahead of us. To the north was the main road, where we had seen the cyclists. To the south, there was a small branch road across the fields with thick trees on each side. I thought we'd better cut to the south and work around the town that way, and across country, toward Campo Formio, and the main road toward Tagliamento. We could avoid the main line of the retreat by keeping to the secondary roads beyond Udine. I knew there were plenty of side roads across the plain. I started down the embankment. "Come on," I said. I would make for the side road and work to the south of the town. And we all started down the embankment. A shot was fired at us from the side road. The bullet went into the mud of the embankment. "Go on back," I shouted. I started up the embankment, slipping in the mud. The drivers were ahead of me. I went up the embankment as fast as I could go. 2 more shots came from the thick brush, and Amo, as he was crossing the tracks, lurched, tripped, and fell face down. We pulled him down on the other side and turned him over. "His head ought to be uphill," I said, and Piani moved him around. He lay in the mud on the side of the embankment, his feet pointing downhill, breathing blood irregularly. The 3 of us squatted over him in the rain. He was hit low in the back of the neck, and the bullet had ranged upward and come out under the right eye. He died while it was stopping up the 2 holes. Piani laid his head down, wiped at his face with a piece of the emergency dressing, then let it alone. That was the kid. Damn. "See," he said. "They weren't Germans," I said. "There can't be any Germans over there." "Italians," Piani said, using the word as an epithet. "Italiani!" Bonello said nothing. He was sitting beside Amo, not looking at him. Piani picked up Amo's cap where it had rolled toward the embankment and put it over his face. He took out his canteen. "Do you want a drink?" Piani handed Bonello the canteen. "No," Bonello said. He turned to me. "That might have happened to us any time on the railway tracks." "No," I said. "It was because we started across the field." Bonello shook his head. "Amo's dead," he said. "Who's dead next, Tenente? Where do we go now?" "Those were Italians that shot," I said. "They weren't Germans." "Suppose if they were Germans, they'd have killed all of us," Bonello said. "You're in more danger from Italians than Germans," I said. "The rear guard are afraid of everything. The Germans know what they're after." "You reason it out, Tenente," Bonello said. "Where do we go now?" Piani asked. "We better lie up someplace till it's dark. If we could get south, we'd be all right." "They'd have to shoot all of us to prove they were right the first time," Bonello said. "I'm not going to try them." "We'll find a place to lie up as near to Udine as we can get, and then go through when it's dark." "Let's go, then," Bonello said. We went down the north side of the embankment. I looked back. Amo lay in the mud, with the angle of the embankment. He was quite small, and his arms were by his side. His puttee-wrapped legs and muddy boots together, his cap over his face. He looked very dead. It was raining. I had liked him as well as anyone I ever knew. I had his papers in my pocket and would write to his family. Ahead, across the fields, was a farmhouse. There were trees around it, and the farm buildings were built against the house. There was a balcony along the second floor held up by the columns. "We better keep a little way apart," I said. "I'll go ahead." I started toward the farmhouse. There was a path across the field. Crossing the field, I did not know but that someone would fire on us from the trees near the farmhouse, or from the farmhouse itself. I walked toward it, seeing it very clearly. The balcony of the second floor merged into the barn, and there was hay coming out between the columns. The courtyard was of stone blocks, and all the trees were dripping dripping with the rain. There was a big, empty, two-wheeled cart. The shafts tipped high up in the rain. I came to the courtyard, crossed it, and stood under the shelter of the balcony. The door of the house was open, and I went in. Bonello and Piani came in after me. It was dark inside. I went back to the kitchen. There were ashes of a fire on the big open hearth. The pots hung over the ashes, but they were empty. I looked around, but I could not find anything to eat. "We have to lie up in the barn," I said. "Do you think you could find anything to eat, Piani, and bring it up there?" "I'll look," Piani said. "I'll look too," Bonello said. "All right," I said. "I'll go up and look at the barn." I found a stone stairway that went up from the stable underneath. The stable smelt dry and pleasant in the rain. The cattle were all gone, probably driven off when they left. The barn was half full of hay. There were two windows in the roof. One was blocked with boards, the other was a narrow dormer window on the north side. There was a chute so that hay might be pitched down to the cattle. Beams crossed the opening down into the main floors where the hay carts drove in when the hay was hauled in to be pitched up. I heard the rain on the roof and smelled the hay, and when I went down, the clean smell of dried dung in the stable. We can pry a board loose and see out the south window down into the courtyard. The other window looked out on the field toward the north. We could get out of either window onto the roof and down, or go down the hay chute if the stairs were impractical. It was a big barn. We could hide in the hay if we heard anyone. It seemed like a good place. I was sure we could have gotten through to the south if they had not fired on us. It was impossible that there were Germans there. They were coming from the north and down the road from Civitale. They could not have come through from the south. The Italians were even more dangerous. They were frightened and firing on anything they saw. Last night, on the retreat, we had heard that there had been many Germans in Italian uniforms mixing with the retreat in the north. I did not believe it. That was one of those things you always heard in the war. It was one of those things the enemy always did to you. You did not know anyone who went over in German uniform to confuse them. Maybe they did, but it sounded difficult. I did not believe the Germans did it. I did not believe they had to. There was no need to confuse our retreat. The size of the army and the fewness of the roads did that. Nobody gave any orders, let alone Germans. Still, they would shoot us for Germans. They shot Amo. The hay smelled good. Lying in a barn in the hay took away all the years in between. We had lain in hay and talked and shot sparrows with an air rifle when they had perched in the triangle cut high up in the wall of the barn. The barn was gone now, and one year they cut the hemlock woods and there were only stumps, dried treetops, branches, and fireweed where the woods had been. You could not go back. If you did not go forward, what happened? You never got back to Milan. And if you got back to Milan, what happened? I listened to the firing to the wood north. To the north toward Udine. I could hear machine gun firing. There was no shelling. That was something. They must have gotten some troops along the road. I looked down in the half-light of the hay barn and saw Piani standing on the hauling floor. He had a long sausage, a jar of something, and 2 bottles of wine under his arm. "Come up," I said. There's the ladder. Then I realized that I should help him with the things and went down. It was vague in the head from lying in the hay. I'd been nearly asleep. Where's Bonello? I asked. I'll tell you, Piani said. He went up the ladder. Up on the hay, we set the things down. Piani took out his knife with the corkscrew and drew the cork on a wine bottle. They have sealing wax on it, he said. It must be good. He smiled. Where's Bonello? I asked. Piani looked at me. He went away, Tenente, said. He wanted to be a prisoner. I did not say anything. He was afraid we would get killed. I held the bottle of wine and did not say anything. You see, we don't believe in the war anyway, Tenente. Why didn't you go? I asked. I did not want to leave you. Where did he go? I don't know, Tenente. He went away. All right, I said. Will you cut the sausage? Piani looked at me in the half-light. I cut it while we were talking, he said. We sat in the hay and ate the sausage and drank the wine. It must have been wine they had saved for a wedding. It was so old that it was losing its color. You look out this window, Luigi, I said. I'll go look out the other window. We had each been drinking out of one of the bottles, and I took my bottle with me and went over and lay flat on the hay, and looked out the narrow window at the wet country. I do not know what I expected to see, but I did not see anything except the fields and the bare mulberry trees and the rain falling. I drank the wine, and it did not make me feel good. They had kept it too long, and it had gone to pieces and lost its quality and color. I watched it get dark outside. The darkness came very quickly. It would be a black night with the rain. When it was dark, there was no use watching anymore, so I went over to Piani. He was lying asleep, and I did not wake him, but sat down beside him for a while. He was a big man, and he slept heavily. After a while, I woke him, and we started. That was a very strange night. I do not know what I had expected. Death, perhaps, and shooting in the dark and running, but nothing happened. We waited, lying flat beyond the ditch along the main road while a German battalion passed. Then, when they were gone, we crossed the road and went on to the north. We were very close to Germans twice in the rain, but they did not see us. We got past the town to the north without seeing any Italians, then, after a while, came on the main channels of the retreat, and walked all night toward Tagliamento. I had not realized how gigantic the retreat was. The whole country was moving, as well as the army. We walked all night, making better time than the vehicles. My leg ached and I was tired, but we made good time. It seemed so silly for Bonello to have decided to be taken prisoner. There was no danger. We had walked through 2 armies without incident. If Amo had not been killed, there would never have seemed to be any danger. No one had bothered us when we were in plain sight along the railway. The killing came suddenly and unreasonably. I wondered where Bonello was. How do you feel, Tenente? Piani asked. We were going along the side of a road crowded with vehicles and troops. Fine. I'm tired of this walking. Well, all we have to do is walk now. We don't have to worry. Bonello was a fool. He was a fool, all right. What will you do about him, Tenente? I don't know. Can't you just put him down as taken prisoner? I don't know. You see, if the war went on, they would make bad trouble for his family. The war won't go on, a soldier said. We're going home. The war is over. Everybody's going home. We're all going home. Come on, Tenente, Piani said. He wanted to get past them. Tenente? Who's the Tenente? A pazzo gli ufficiali? Down with the officers! Oh boy, here we go. Piani took me by the arm. I better call you by your name, he said. They might try and make trouble. They shot some officers. We worked up past them. I won't make a report that will make trouble for his family. I went on with our conversation. If the war is over, it makes no difference, Piani said. But I don't believe it's over. It's too good that it should be over. We'll know pretty soon, I said. I don't believe it's over. They all think it's over, but I don't believe it. Vive la pace! Pace. A soldier shouted out, We're going home! It would be fine if we all went home, Piani said. Wouldn't you like to go home? Yes. We'll never go. I don't think it's over. Andiamo a cazza! A soldier shouted. They throw away their rifles, Piani said. They take them off and drop them down while they're marching. Then they shout. They ought to keep their rifles. They think if they throw away their rifles, they can't make them fight. In the dark and the rain, making our way along the side of the road, I could see that many of the troops still had their rifles. They stuck up above the capes. What brigade are you? An officer called out. Brigata di Pace! Someone shouted. Peace Brigade! But the officer said nothing. What does he say? What did the officer say? Down with the officer! Viva la pace! Come on, Piani said. We passed 2 British ambulances, abandoned in the block of vehicles. They're from Gorizia, Piani said. I know the cars. They got farther than we did. They started earlier. Wonder where the drivers are. Up ahead, probably. The Germans have stopped outside Udine, I said. These people will all get across the river. Yes, Piani said. That's why I think the war will go on. The Germans could come on, I said. I wonder why they don't come on. I don't know. I don't know anything about this kind of war. They have to wait for the transport, I suppose. I don't know, Piani said. Alone, he was much gentler. When he was with the others, he was a very rough talker. Are you married, Luigi? Oh, you know I am married. Is that why you do not want to be a prisoner? That is one reason. Are you married, Tenente? No. Neither is Bonello. You can't tell anything by a man's being married, but I should think a married man would want to get back to his wife, I said. I'd be glad to talk about wives. Yes. How are your feet? They're sore enough. Before daylight, we reached the bank of the Tagliamento, and followed down along the flooded river to the bridge where all the traffic was crossing. They ought to be able to hold at this river, Piani said. In the dark, the flood looked high. The water swirled and it was wide. The wooden bridge was nearly 3/4 of a mile across, and the river, that usually ran in narrow channels in the wide stony bed far below the bridge, was close under the wooden planking. We went along the bank and then worked our way into the crowd that were crossing the bridge. Crossing slowly, in the rain, a few feet above the flood, pressed tight in the crowd, the box of an artillery caisson just ahead. I looked over the side and watched the river. Now that we could not go our own pace, I felt very tired. There was no exhilaration in crossing the bridge. I wondered what it would be like if a plane bombed it in the daytime. Piani, I said. Here I am, Tenente. He was a little ahead in the jam. No one was talking. They were all trying to get across as soon as they could, thinking only of that. We were almost across. At the far end of the bridge, there were officers and carabinieri standing on both sides, flashing lights. I saw them silhouetted against the skyline. As we came close to them, I saw one of the officers point to a man in the column. A carabinieri went in after him, and came out holding the man by the arm. Took him away from the road. We came almost opposite them. The officers were scrutinizing everyone in the column, sometimes speaking to each other, going forward to flash a light in someone's face. They took someone else out just before we came opposite. I saw the man. He was a lieutenant colonel. I saw the stars in the box on his sleeve as they flashed a light on him. His hair was gray and he was short and fat. Carabinieri pulled him in behind the line of officers. As we came opposite, I saw 1 or 2 of them look at me. Then one pointed at me and spoke to a carabinieri. I saw the carabinieri start for me, come through the edge of the column toward me, then felt him take me by the collar. What's the matter with you? I said, and hit him in the face. I saw his face under the hat, upturned mustaches and blood coming down his cheek. Another one dove in toward us. What's the matter with you? I said. He did not answer. He was watching the chance to grab me. I put my arm behind me to loosen my pistol. Don't you know you can't touch an officer? The other one grabbed me from behind and pulled my arm up, so that it twisted in a socket. I turned with him, and the other one grabbed me around the neck. I kicked his shins and got my left knee into his groin. Shoot him if he resists, I heard someone say. What's the meaning of this? I tried to shout, but my voice was not very loud. They had me at the side of the road now. Shoot him if he resists, an officer said. Take him over back. Who are you? You'll find out. Who are you? Battle police, another officer said. Why don't you ask me to step over instead of having one of these airplanes grab me? They did not answer. They did not have to answer. They were battle police. Take him back there with the others, the first officer said. You see? He speaks Italian with an accent. So do you, I said. Take him back with the others, the first officer said. He took me down behind the line of officers below the road toward a group of people in a field at the riverbank. As we walked toward them, shots were fired. I saw flashes of the rifles and heard the reports. We came up to the group. There were... Hello, Zoe. Yes. There were 4 officers standing together, with a man in front of them, with a carabinieri on each side of him. A group of men were standing guarded by carabinieri. 4 other carabinieri stood near the questioning officers, leaning on their carbines. They were wide-hatted carabinieri. The 2 who had me shoved me in with the group waiting to be questioned. I looked at the man the officers were questioning. He was the fat, gray-haired little lieutenant colonel that had taken out of the column. The questioners had all the efficiency, coldness, and command of themselves of Italians who were firing and not being fired on. Your brigade? He told them. Regiment? He told them. Why are you not with your regiment? He told them. Do you not know that an officer should be with his troops? He did. That was all. Another officer spoke. It is you, and such as you, who let the barbarians onto the sacred soil of the fatherland. I beg your pardon, said the lieutenant colonel. It is because of treachery such as yours that we have lost the fruit of victory. Have you ever been in a retreat? The lieutenant colonel asked. Italy should never retreat. Oh, boy. We stood there in the rain and listened to this. We were facing the officers, and the prisoners stood in front and a little to one side of us. If you're going to shoot me, the lieutenant colonel said, please shoot me at once without further questioning. The questioning is stupid. He made the sign of the cross. The officers spoke together. One wrote something on a pad of paper. Abandoned his troops, ordered to be shot, he said. 2 carabinieri took the lieutenant colonel to the riverbank. He walked in the rain, an old man with his hat off, carabinieri on either side. I did not watch them shoot him. I heard the shots. They were questioning someone else. This officer, too, was separated from his troops. He was not allowed to make an explanation. He cried when they read the sentence from the pad of paper, and they were questioning another when they shot him. They made a point of being intent on questioning the next man while the man who had been questioned before was being shot. In this way, there was obviously nothing they could do about it. I do not know whether I should wait to be questioned or make a break now. I was obviously a German and Italian uniform. I saw how their minds worked. If they had minds and if they worked. They were all young men, and they were saving their country. The Second Army was being reformed beyond the Tagliamento. They were executing officers of the rank of major and above who were separated from their troops. They were also dealing summarily with German agitators in Italian uniform. They wore steel helmets. Only 2 of us had steel helmets. Some of the carabinieri had them. The other carabinieri wore the wide hat. Airplanes, we called them. We stood in the rain, and were taken out one at a time to be questioned and shot. So far, they had shot everyone they had questioned. The questioners had that beautiful detachment and devotion to stern justice of men dealing in death without being in any danger of it. They were questioning a full colonel of a line regiment. 3 more officers had just been put in with us. Where was his regiment? I looked at the carabinieri. They were looking at the newcomers. The others were looking at the colonel. I ducked down, pushed between 2 men, and ran for the river. My head down, I tripped at the edge and went in with a splash. The water was very cold, and I stayed under as long as I could. I could feel the current swirl me. I stayed under until I thought I could never come up. The minute I came up, I took a breath and went down again. It was easy to stay under with so much clothing and my boots. When I came up the second time, I saw a piece of timber ahead of me and reached it and held on with one hand. I kept my head behind it and did not even look over it. I did not want to see the bank. There were shots when I ran and shots when I came up the first time. I heard them when I was almost above water. There were no shots now. The piece of timber swung in the current, and I held it with one hand. I looked at the bank. It seemed to be going very fast, or be going by very fast. There was much wood in the stream. The water was very cold. We passed the brush of an island above the water. I held onto the timber with both hands and let it take me along. The shore was out of sight now. All right, that brings us to the end of chapter 30. That one was a doozy. Wow. So, we're starting to see things take an even darker turn. The first real brush with defeat by the Italian army did not go over terribly well. They'd been giving it as well as they got it for a while, but as we can see, the harsher elements are taking over in the leadership vacuum here. And it's something of a prelude for things to come. Yeah, it's World War I. Things aren't going to stay calm. Yes, Hemingway is a little bit more just tells it frankly and as it comes, but he's usually not like high action. But this is edging awfully close to high action. We're at the military drama and a watching a coup unfold as we're coming across. Yeah, that's military with lack of discipline is one of the scariest things that you can come across. And this is exactly what we're seeing here. Thugs with guns deciding that they're going to take matters into their own hands. Ugh. I rather thought that things were probably about at their worst when the kid was shot. Which, then you can kind of understand that. It's rear guard, it's in the dark, there's not great discipline, they're just kind of shooting at whatever moves because they're afraid. But things continued to spiral rather out of control as they got a little bit closer in with more people. So, we'll have to see. Because at this point, we're about 2/3 of the way through the book. There's plenty of time for things to get worse before it gets better. Plenty of time for that, indeed. Alright, so we are at about 10 minutes till the hour, till our normally scheduled break. But let's go ahead and take a short one now. I'll go ahead and run ads early, get it out of the way. And I have a little bit of troubleshooting to do with my OBS to see if I can get it to cooperate so that I can hear the music myself. Reading in a dead silent room is a little awkward, to say the least. So, let's take a short break now. I will do some IT legwork on the back end, and we'll run some ads here, and then we'll be back in just a little while to continue from chapter 31. Thanks. All right, we are back. So there we go. Got topped up the drink while we're out. We were productive. I found my phone. I fixed the monitor so I can now understand that the BGM is in fact working. Reading in a silent room is always a little unnerving. It's nice to have a little bit of my own BGM piped through. All right, so let's go ahead and resume where we left off. As we were discussing before we left, things took a rather darker turn and are probably going to continue to get worse. They'll get worse before they get better. So, let's see what chapter 31 has ahead of us. For keen students of history probably know a little bit of what's going to be happening with Italy here. Because they've got something of a reputation. But we'll see if that's what is happening here, or whether it is just a brief glimpse of the chaos of war. Chapter 31. You do not know how long you were in a river when the current moves swiftly. It seems a long time, and it may be very short. The water was cold and in flood, and many things passed that had been floated off the banks when the river rose. I was lucky to have a heavy timber to hold on to, and I lay in the icy water with my chin on the wood, holding as easily as I could with both hands. I was afraid of cramps, and I hoped we would move toward the shore. We went down the river in a long curve. It was beginning to be light enough so I could see the bushes along the shoreline. There was a brush island ahead, and the current moved toward the shore. I wondered if I should take off my boots and clothes and try to swim ashore, but decided not to. I'd never thought of anything but that I would reach the shore some way. I would be in a bad position if I landed barefoot. I had to get up to Mestre some way. I watched the shore come close, then swing away, then come closer again. We were floating more slowly. The shore was very close now. I could see twigs on the willow bush. The timber swung slowly, so that the bank was behind me, and I knew we were in an eddy. We went slowly around, and as I saw the bank again, very close now, I tried holding with one arm and kicking and swimming the timber toward the bank with the other. I did not bring it any closer. I was afraid we would move out of the eddy, and holding with one hand, I drew up my feet so they were against the side of the timber and shoved hard toward the bank. I could see the brush, but even with my momentum and swimming as hard as I could, the current was taking me away. I thought then I would drown because of my boots, but I thrashed and fought through the water, and when I looked up, the bank was coming toward me. And I kept thrashing and swimming in a heavy-footed panic until I reached it. I hung to the willow branch and did not have strength to pull myself up, but I knew I would not drown now. It had never occurred to me on the timber that I might drown. I felt hollow and sick in my stomach and chest from the effort, and I held to the branches and waited. When the sick feeling was gone, I pulled into the willow bushes and rested again, my arms around some brush, holding tight with my hands to the branches.
What, Zoe? Yeah? No?
It's getting warmer around here, and she's not happy. Then I crawled out, pushed on through the willows and onto the bank. It was half daylight, and I saw no one. I lay flat on the bank and heard the river and the rain. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the heat myself. It's only low 80s right now, but all the same, it means I have to turn the air conditioner on, and because usually I like to set the thermostat around, like 75-ish, kind of high, but I'm an old man. That's what we do. We do a little bit of thermostat tight control because that's the only control we can actually get in life. After a while, I got up and started along the bank. I knew there was no bridge across the river until Latasana. I thought I might be opposite San Vito. I began to think out what I should do. Ahead there was a ditch running into the river. I went toward it. So far I had seen no one, and I sat down by some bushes along the bank of the ditch, took off my shoes and emptied them of water. I took off my coat, took my wallet with my papers and my money all wet in it out of the inside pocket, and then wrung the coat out. I took off my trousers and wrung them too, then my shirt and underclothing. I slapped and rubbed myself and then dressed again. I had lost my cap. Before I put on my coat, I cut the cloth stars off my sleeves and put them in the inside pocket with my money. My money was wet, but it was all right. I counted it. There were 3,000 and some lire. My clothes felt wet and clammy, and I slapped my arms to keep the circulation going. I had woven underwear, and I did not think I would catch cold if I kept moving. They had taken my pistol at the road, and I put the holster under my coat. I had no cape, and it was cold in the rain. I started at the bank of the canal. It was daylight, and the country was wet, low and dismal looking. The fields were bare and wet. A long way away I could see a campanile rising out of the plain. I came up onto a road. Ahead I saw some troops coming down the road. I limped along the side of the road, and they passed me and paid no attention to me. They were a machine-gun detachment going up toward the river. I went on down the road. One sec, I missed something in my... Off, and where's the page turn? Flip that. There we go. Just to check. Yep, that did it. Okay. OBS making me do it for each source that I have on monitor. Thank you very much. That day, I crossed the Venetian plain. It is a low, level country, and under the rain it is even flatter. Toward the sea, there are salt marshes and very few roads. The roads all go along the river mouths. To the sea, and across the country, you must go along the paths beside the canals. I was working across the country from the north to the south, and had crossed 2 railway lines and many roads, and finally, I came out at the end of a path onto a railway line where it ran beside a marsh. It was the main line, from Venice to Trieste, with a high, solid embankment, a solid roadbed, and double track. Down the tracks was a flag station, and I could see soldiers on guard. Up the line there was a bridge over the stream that flowed into the marsh. I could see a guard, too, at the bridge. Crossing the fields to the north, I had seen a train pass on this railroad, visible a long way across the flat plain, and I thought a train might come from Portogruaro. I watched the guards and lay down on the embankment so that I could see both ways along the track. The guard at the bridge walked away up the line toward where I lay, then turned and went back toward the bridge. I lay and was hungry and waited for the train. The one I had seen was so long that the engine moved it very slowly, and I was sure I could get aboard it. After I had almost given up hope for one, I saw a train coming. The engine, coming straight on, grew larger, slowly. I looked at the guard at the bridge. He was walking on the near side of the bridge, but on the other side of the tracks. That would put him out of sight when the train passed. I watched the engine come nearer. It was working hard. I could see there were many cars. I knew there would be guards on the train, and I tried to see where they were, but keeping out of sight, I could not. The engine was almost where I was lying. When it came opposite, working and puffing even on the level, and I saw the engineer pass. Hey, welcome. Yeah, there aren't a whole lot of us readers out here on Twitch, but we've got a small community, so we try and keep it chill and just read good books. Thanks for stopping in. If the guards were watching, I was a less suspicious object standing beside the track. Several closed freight cars passed. Then I saw a low, open car of the sort they call gondolas coming, covered with canvas. I stood until it had almost passed, then jumped and caught the rear hand rods and pulled up. I crawled down between the gondolas in the shelter of the high freight car behind. I did not think anyone had seen me. I was holding to the hand rods and crouching low, my feet on the coupling. We were almost opposite the bridge. I remembered the guard. As we passed him, he looked at me. He was a boy, and his helmet was too big for him. I stared at him contemptuously, and he looked away. He thought I had something to do with the train. We were past. I saw him still looking uncomfortable, watching the other cars pass, and I stooped to see how the canvas was fastened. It had grommets and was laced down at the edge with cord. I took out my knife, cut the cord, and put my arm under. There were hard bulges under the canvas that tightened in the rain. I looked up and ahead. There was a guard on the freight car ahead, but he was looking forward. I let go of the handrails and ducked under the canvas. My forehead hit something that gave me a violent bump, and I felt blood on my face, but I crawled on in and lay flat. Then I turned around and fastened down the canvas. I was in under the canvas with guns. They smelled cleanly of oil and grease. I lay and listened to the rain on the canvas and the clicking of the car over the rails. There was a little light that came through, and I lay and looked at the guns. They had their canvas jackets on. I thought they must have been sent ahead from the Third Army. The bump on my forehead was swollen, and I stopped the bleeding by lying still and letting it coagulate. Then picked away the dried blood except over the cut. It was nothing. I had no handkerchief, but feeling with my fingers, I washed away where the dried blood had been, with rainwater that dripped from the canvas. I wiped it clean with the sleeve of my coat. I did not want to look conspicuous. I knew I would have to get out of here before they got to Meston, because they would be taking care of these guns. They had no guns to lose or forget about. I was terrifically hungry. All right, that brings us to the end of chapter 31. The Great Escape Down the River. So, for those of you wandering in, welcome. I am Arthur Irving Rush. We really just read around here during the week, and so we do classics 4 times a week. 3 times a week. Lose track of my own schedule. Classics 3 days a week, and on Saturdays we do a longer read for more modern books. So right now we're reading Ernest Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms, which is unfortunately timely, given current events. We would all prefer that this was not quite so relevant, but it is what it is. And then tomorrow we will be continuing our reading of Hyperion, one of the absolute pillars of modern sci-fi. It's something that I do recommend everyone read, either on their own time or join us for a read-along. All right, let's go ahead and continue. I've got a fair bit of drink left and don't need a refill just yet. So, we've got chapter 32 ahead of us. Lying on the floor of the flat car with the guns beside me under the canvas, I was wet, cold, and very hungry. Finally, I rolled over and lay flat on my stomach with my head on my arms. My knee was stiff, but it had been very satisfactory. Valentini had done a fine job. I had done half the retreat on foot and swum part of the Tagliamento with his knee. It was his knee, all right. The other knee was mine. The doctors did strange things to you, and then it was not your body anymore. The head was mine. The inside of the belly, it was very hungry in there. I could feel it turn over on itself. The head was mine, but not to use, not to think with, only to remember. And not too much remember. I could remember Catherine, but I knew I would get crazy if I thought about her when I was not sure yet I would see her. So I would not think about her. Only about her a little. Only about her with the car going slowly and clickingly. and some light through the canvas, and my lying with Catherine on the floor of the car. Hard as the floor of the car to lie, not thinking, only feeling, having been away too long, the clothes wet and the floor moving only a little each time, and lonesome inside and alone with wet clothing and hard floor for a wife. Whew. Got a little stream of conscious there, Hemingway, I see. You did not love the floor of a flat car, nor guns with canvas jackets and the smell of a vase-lined metal, or a canvas that rain leaked through. Although it is very fine under a canvas and pleasant with guns, but you loved someone else, whom now you knew was not even to be pretended there. You seeing now very clearly and coldly, not so coldly as clearly and emptily, you saw emptily, lying on your stomach, having been present when one army moved back and another came forward. You had lost your cars and your men as a floor walker loses the stock of his department in a fire. There was, however, no insurance. You were out of it now. You had no more obligation. If they shot floor walkers after a fire in the department store because they spoke with an accent they had always had, then certainly floor walkers would not be expected to return when the store opened again for business. They might seek other employment, if there was any other employment, and the police did not get them. Anger was washed away in the river along with any obligation. Although that ceased when the Carabiniere put his hands on my collar, I would have liked to have had the uniform off. Although I did not care much about the outward forms, I had taken off the stars, but that was for convenience. It was no point of honor. I was not against them. I was through. I wish them all luck. There were the good ones, and the brave ones, and the calm ones, and the sensible ones, and they deserved it. But it was not my show any more. And I wish this bloody train would get to Messer, and I would eat and stop thinking. I would have to stop. Johnny would tell them they had shot me. They went through the pockets and took the papers of the people they shot. They would not have my papers. They would call me drowned. I wondered what they would hear in the States. Dead from wounds and other causes. Good Christ, I was hungry. I wondered what had become of the priest at the mess. And Rinaldi. He was probably at Pordenone, if they had not gone further back. Well, I would never see him now. I would never see any of them now. That life was over. I did not think he had syphilis. It was not a serious disease anyway if you took it in time, they said. But he would worry. I would worry too if I had it. Anyone would worry. I was not made to think. I was made to eat. My God, yes, eat and drink and sleep with Catherine. Tonight, maybe. No, that was impossible. But tomorrow night, and a good meal and sheets and never going away again except together. Probably have to go damn quickly. She would go. I knew she would go. When would we go? That was something to think about. It was getting dark. I lay and thought where we would go. There were many places. All right, that brings us to the end of the chapter and the end of book 3. I think there are, I don't remember if there are 4 or 5 books in this. 5, okay. So we have 2 left to keep us going through. And so far, each of these books have been very starkly different. So we're coming up on another change here. How much time has passed, or how just situation has changed, it's hard to tell. We'll have to see as we continue. All right, so let's continue now with the first chapter of book 4, chapter 33. I dropped off the train in Milan. Okay, so we're still immediate. Okay, no time skip. As it slowed to come into the station early in the morning, before it was light. I crossed the track and came out between some buildings and down onto the street. A wine shop was open, and I went in for some coffee. It smelled of early morning, and of swept dust, spoons in coffee glasses, and the wet circles left by wine glasses. The proprietor was behind the bar. 2 soldiers sat at a table. I stood at the bar and drank a glass of coffee and ate a piece of bread. The coffee was gray with milk, and I skimmed the milk scum off the top with a piece of bread. The proprietor looked at me. "You want a glass of grappa?" "No, thanks. On me," he said, and poured a small glass and pushed it toward me. "What's happening at the front?" I would not know. "They are drunk," he said, moving his hand toward the 2 soldiers. I could believe him. They looked drunk. "Tell me," he said, "what is happening at the front?" I would not know about the front. "I saw you come down the wall. You came off the train." There's a big retreat. "I read the papers. What happens? Is it over?" "I don't think so." He filled the glass with grappa from a short bottle. "If you are in trouble," he said, "I can keep you." "I am not in trouble." "If you are in trouble, stay here with me." "Where does one stay?" "In the building. Many stay here. Any who are in trouble stay here." "Are many in trouble?" "It depends on the trouble. You're a South American?" "No." "Speak Spanish?" "A little." He wiped off the bar. "It is hard now to leave the country, but in no way impossible." "I have no wish to leave." "You can stay here as long as you want. You will see what sort of man I am." "I have to go this morning, but I will remember the address to return." He shook his head. "You won't come back if you talk like that. I thought you were in real trouble." I am in no trouble, but I value the address of a friend." I put a 10-lira note on the bar to pay for the coffee. "Have a grappa with me," I said. "It is not necessary. Have one." He poured the 2 glasses. "Remember," he said, "come here. Do not let other people take you in. Here, you are all right." "I am sure." "You are sure?" "Yes." He was serious. "Then let me tell you one thing. Do not go about with that coat." "Why?" "On the sleeves, it shows very plainly where the stars have been cut away. The cloth is a different color." I did not say anything. "If you have no papers, I can give you papers." "What papers?" "Leaf papers." "I have no need for papers. I have papers." "All right. But if you need papers, I can get you what you wish." "How much are such papers?" "It depends on what they are. The price is reasonable." I don't need any now." He shrugged his shoulders. I'm all right," I said. When I went out, he said, "Don't forget that I am your friend." "No, I will see you again," he said. "Good," I said. Outside, I kept away from the station, where there were military police. Picked up a cab at the edge of the little park. I gave the driver the address of the hospital. At the hospital, I went to the porter's lodge. His wife embraced me. He shook my hand. "You're back. You're safe." "Yes. Have you had breakfast?" "Yeah, yes." "How are you, Tenente?" "How are you?" the wife asked. Can't tell who's speaking. "Fine. Won't you have breakfast with us?" "No, thank you. Tell me, is Miss Barclay here at the hospital now?" "Miss Barclay?" "The English lady nurse." "His girl," the wife said. She patted my arm and smiled. No, the porter said. "She is away." My heart went down. You're sure?" I mean the tall, blonde English young lady." "I am sure. She's gone to Stresa." "When did she go?" "She went 2 days ago, with the other lady English." "Good," I said. "I wish you to do something for me. Do not tell anyone you have seen me. It is very important." "I won't tell anyone," the porter said. I gave him a 10-lira note. He pushed it away. "I promise you, I will tell no one," he said. "I don't want any money." "What can we do for you, Signor Tenente?" his wife asked. "Only that," I said. "We are done," the porter said. "You will let me know anything I can do." "Yes," I said. "Goodbye. I will see you again." They stood in the door looking after me. I got into the cab and gave the driver the address of Simmons, one of the men I knew who was studying singing. Simmons lived a long way out in the town toward the Porta Magenta. He was still in bed, sleepy, when I went to see him. "You get up awfully early, Henry," he said. Hold on. Is RMC a Henry after all? Or is this just a name given to him by this particular friend? I was starting to have worries, but for those of you out of the loop, we have a rather poor relation with characters who are named Henry, or whether it be Henry David Thoreau or Henry from the Red Badge of Courage. They're usually shits. Usually insufferable. So, the name drop of a Henry here is rather poor foreshadowing. I came in on the early train. "What's all this retreat? Were you at the front? Will you have a cigarette? They're in that box on the table." It was a big room with a bed beside the wall, a piano over on the far side, and a dresser and table. I sat on a chair by the bed. Simmons sat propped up by the pillows and smoked. "I'm in a jam, Sim," I said. "So am I," he said. "I am always in jam. Won't you smoke?" No, I said. "What's the procedure in going to Switzerland?" "For you? The Italians wouldn't let you out of the country." "Yes, I know that, but the Swiss, what will they do?" They'll intern you." "I know. But what's the mechanics of it?" "Nothing. It's very simple. You can go anywhere. I think you just have to report something." "Why? Are you fleeing the police?" "Nothing definite yet." "Don't tell me if you don't want. But it would be interesting to hear. Nothing happens here. It was a great flop at Piacenza." "I'm awfully sorry." "Oh, yes. I went very badly. I sung well, too. I'm going to have to try again at Lirico here." "I'd like to be there." "You're awfully polite. You aren't in a bad mess, are you?" "I don't know." "Don't tell me if you don't want. How do you happen to be away from the bloody front?" "I think I'm through with it." "Good boy. I always knew you had sense. Can I help you any way?" "You're awfully busy." "Not a bit of it, my dear Henry. Not a bit of it. I'd be happy to do anything." "You're about my size. Would you go out and buy me an outfit of civilian clothes? I've clothes, but they're all at Rome." "You did live there, didn't you? It's a filthy place. How did you ever live there?" "I wanted to be an architect." That's no place for that. Don't buy clothes. I'll give you all the clothes you want. I'll fit you out so you'll be a great success. Go in that dressing room. There's a closet. Take anything you want. My dear fellow, you don't want to buy clothes." "I'd rather buy them, Sim." "My dear fellow, it's easier for me to let you have them than to go out and buy them. Have you got a passport? You won't get far without a passport." Yes, I've still got my passport." "Then get dressed, my dear fellow, and off to old Helvetia." "It's not that simple. I have to get up to Stresa first." "Ideal, my dear fellow. You just row a boat across. If I wasn't trying to sing, I'd go with you. I'll go yet." "You could take up yodeling." "My dear fellow, I'll take up yodeling yet. I really can sing, though. That's the strange part." "I'll bet you can sing." He lay back in bed, smoking a cigarette. "Don't bet too much. But I can sing, though. It's damned funny, but I can. I like to sing. Listen." He roared into Africana, his neck swelling, his veins standing out. "I can sing," he said, "whether they like it or not." I looked out of the window. "I'll go down and let my cab go." "Oh, it's okay." "Come back up, my dear fellow, and we'll have breakfast." He stepped out of bed, stood straight, took a deep breath, and commenced doing bending exercises. I went downstairs, paid off the cab. All right, so that brings us to the end of chapter 33, and we're starting to see things coming together somewhat. He's now certainly AWOL, but I would like to think there's extenuating circumstances. The enlisted men executing officers is probably a good reason to abandon your post. I think that would stand up in most outfits. And he's found good people that are willing to help. It tells you that the war is not very popular on the home front. Between the cafe owner, the very first person, civilian that he ran into, was willing and eager to A, get him some fake papers, and B, hide him away. That's a sign. And then to be able to just make it through town, come up to an acquaintance, not even really a friend, an acquaintance from while he was in the hospital, and get some easy help there. That's a little telling of the public sentiment. The leaders may be in for the war, but the populace not so much. And isn't that always the fucking way of it? Ay, ay, ay. All right, let's continue. We've got about a half hour yet tonight, and we're making good progress. So, chapter 34. In civilian clothes, I felt a masquerader. I had been in uniform a long time, and I missed the feeling of being held by your clothes. The trousers felt very floppy. I had bought a ticket at Milan for Stresa. I had also bought a new hat. I could not wear Sim's hat, but his clothes were fine. They smelled of tobacco, and as I sat in the compartment and looked out the window, the new hat felt very new, and the clothes very old. I myself felt as sad as the wet Lombard country that was outside through the window. There were some aviators in the compartment who did not think much of me. They avoided looking at me and were very scornful of a civilian at my age. I did not feel insulted. In the old days, I would have insulted them and picked a fight. They got off at Gallerate. I was glad to be alone. I had the paper, but I did not read it because I did not want to read about the war. I was going to forget the war. I had made a separate peace. I felt damned lonely and was glad when the train got to Streza. A little extra history lesson here. So while the general populace didn't like the war, all across Europe, just about everyone looked poorly on young men who were not enlisted for whatever reason. So I think it was in England, or in the was it the UK yet? Britain? I think it was Britain at the time. They rebrand so damn often I can't keep track. But there were people that would hand out white feathers to young men that they saw in the street, because they would assume that they were not fighting. They were cowards, so they were being given white feathers. So that was, yeah. So while the war was not popular, people who did not sign up to fight the war were not looked well upon. Really a catch-22 if there ever was one. At the station, I had expected to see the porters from the hotels, but there was no one. The season had been over a long time, and no one met the train. I got down from the train with my bag. It was Sim's bag, and very light to carry, being empty, except for 2 shirts, and stood under the roof of the station in the rain while the train went on. I found a man in the station, asked him if he knew what hotels were open. The Grand Hotel in des Isles Borromées was open, and several small hotels that stayed open all the year. I started in the rain for the Isles Borromées, carrying my bag. I saw a carriage coming down the street and signaled to the driver. It was better to arrive in a carriage. We drove up to the carriage entrance of the big hotel, and the concierge came out with an umbrella and was very polite. I took a good room. It was very big and light and looked out on the lake. The clouds were down over the lake, but it would be beautiful with the sunlight. I was expecting my wife, I said. It was a big double bed, a letto matrimoniale, with a satin coverlet. The hotel was very luxurious. I went down the long halls, down the wide stairs, through the rooms to the bar. I knew the barman, and sat on a high stool and ate salted almonds and potato chips. The martini felt cool and clean. Hey, there we go. I knew I made the right choice to drink tonight. What are you doing here in Borghese? The barman asked after he had mixed a second martini. I'm on leave. Convalescing leave. There is no one here. I don't know why they keep the hotel open. Have you been fishing? I've caught some beautiful pieces. Trolling this time of year, you catch some beautiful pieces. Do you ever get the tobacco I sent? Yes. Didn't you get my card? I laughed. I had not been able to get the tobacco. It was American pipe tobacco that he wanted, but my relatives had stopped sending it, or it was being held up. Anyway, it never came. I'll get somewhere, he said. Tell me, have you seen two English girls in the town? They came here day before yesterday? They are not at the hotel. They are nurses. I have seen two nurses. Wait a minute. I'll find out where they are. One of them is my wife, I said. I've come here to meet her. The other is my wife. I'm not joking. Pardon my stupid joke, he said. I did not understand. He went away and was gone quite a little while. I ate olives, salted almonds, and potato chips, and looked at myself in civilian clothes in the mirror behind the bar. The bartender came back. They're at the little hotel near the station, he said. How about some sandwiches? I'll ring for some. You understand there's nothing here. Now, there are no people. Isn't there really anyone at all? Yes, there are a few people. The sandwiches came, and I ate 3 and drank a couple more martinis. Man. All right. He's relapsing a little bit. Not so much falling off the wagon as jumping. I never tasted anything so cool and clean. They made me feel civilized. I had had too much red wine, bread, cheese, bad coffee, and grappa. I sat on the high stool before the pleasant mahogany, the brass and the mirrors, and did not think at all. The barman asked me some question. Don't talk about the war, I said. The war was a long way away. Maybe there wasn't any war. There was no war here. Then I realized it was over for me. But I did not have the feeling that it was really over. I had the feeling of a boy who thinks of what is happening at a certain hour at the schoolhouse from which he has played truant. Catherine and Helen Ferguson were at supper when I came to their hotel. Standing in the hallway, I saw them at table. Catherine's face was away from me, and I saw the line of her hair, and her cheek, and her lovely neck and shoulders. Ferguson was talking. She stopped when I came in. My God, she said. Hello, I said. Why, it's you, Catherine said. Her face lighted up. She looked too happy to believe it. I kissed her. Catherine blushed and I sat down at the table. You're a fine mess, Ferguson said. What are you doing here? Have you eaten? No. The girl who was serving the meal came in, and I told her to bring a plate for me. Catherine looked at me all the time, her eyes happy. What are you doing in Mufti? Ferguson asked. I'm in the cabinet. You're in some mess. Cheer up, Fergie. Cheer up just a little. I am not cheered by seeing you. I know the mess you've gotten this girl into. You're no cheerful sight to me. Catherine looked at me and touched me with her foot under the table. No one got me in a mess, Fergie. I get in my own messes. I can't stand him, Ferguson said. He's done nothing but ruin you with his sneaky Italian tricks. Americans are worse than Italians. The Scotch are such a moral people, Catherine said. I don't mean that. I mean his Italian sneakiness. Am I sneaky, Fergie? You are. You're worse than sneaky. You're like a snake with an Italian uniform, with a cape around your neck. I haven't got an Italian uniform now. Yes, hello, Zoe. Yeah. That's just another example of your sneakiness. You had a love affair all summer and got this girl with child, and now I suppose you'll sneak off. I smiled at Catherine, and she smiled at me. We'll both sneak off, she said. You do the same thing, Ferguson said. I'm ashamed of you, Catherine Barclay. You have no shame and no honor, and you're as sneaky as he is. Don't, Fergie, Catherine said and patted her hand. Don't denounce me. You know we like each other. Take your hand away, Ferguson said. Her face was red. If you had any shame, it would be different. But you're God knows how many months gone with child, and you think it's a joke and are all smiles because your seducers come back. You've no shame and no feelings. She began to cry. Catherine went over and put her arm around her. As she stood comforting Ferguson, I could see no change in her figure. I don't care, Ferguson sobbed. I think it's dreadful. There, Fergie, Catherine comforted her. I'll be ashamed. Don't cry, Fergie. Don't cry, old Fergie. I'm not crying, Ferguson sobbed. I'm not crying. It's the awful thing you've gotten into. She looked at me. I hate you, she said. She can't make me not hate you. You dirty, sneaky American Italian. Her eyes and nose were red with crying. Catherine smiled at me. Don't you smile at him with your arm around me. You're unreasonable, Fergie. I know it, Ferguson sobbed. You mustn't mind me, either of you. I'm so upset. I'm not reasonable. I know it. I want you both to be happy. We're happy, Catherine said. You're sweet, Fergie. Ferguson cried again. I don't want you happy the way you are. Why don't you get married? You haven't got another wife, have you? No, I said. Catherine laughed. There's nothing to laugh about, Ferguson said. Plenty of them have other wives. We'll be married, Fergie, Catherine said, if it will please you. Not to please me. You should want to be married. We've been very busy. Yes, I know. Busy making babies. I thought she was going to cry again, but she went into bitterness and said, I suppose you'll go off with him now tonight? Yes, said Catherine, if he wants me. What about me? Are you afraid to stay here alone? Yes, I am. Then I'll stay with you. No, go on with him. Go with him right away. I'm sick of seeing both of you. We'd better finish dinner. No, go right away. Fergie, be reasonable. I say get out right away. Go away, both of you. Let's go then, I said. I was sick of Fergie. All right, bro, do not start acting like a Henry right now. Her friend is worried about her. You left her pregnant and ran off to war. Like, at least find a justice of the peace and like elope or something. Come on, brother. You do want to go. You see you want to leave me even to eat dinner alone. I've always wanted you to go to the Italian lakes, and this is how it is. Oh. She sobbed, then looked at Catherine and choked. We'll stay till after dinner, Catherine said, and I'll not leave you alone if you want me to stay. I won't leave you alone, Fergie. No, I want you to go. I want you to go. She wiped her eyes. I'm so unreasonable. Please don't mind me. The girl who served the meal had been upset by all the crying. Now, as she brought in the next course, she seemed relieved that things were better. That night at the hotel, in our room with the long, empty hall outside, and our shoes outside the door, the thick carpet on the floor of the room, outside the windows, the rain falling, and in the room, light and pleasant and cheerful. Then the light out, and exciting with smooth sheets, and the bed comfortable. Feeling that we had come home. Feeling no longer alone, waking in the night to find the other one there, not gone away. All other things were unreal. We slept when we were tired, and if we woke, the other one woke too. So one was not alone. Often, a man wishes to be alone, and a girl wishes to be alone too, and if they love each other, they're jealous of that in each other. But I can truly say, we never felt that. We could feel alone when we were together, alone against the others. It has only happened to me like that once. I have been alone while I was with many girls, and that is the way that you can be most lonely. But we were never lonely, and never afraid when we were together. I know that the night is not the same as the day, that all things are different, that the things of the night cannot be explained in the day because they do not then exist. And the night can be a dreadful time for lonely people once their loneliness has started. Ain't that real? But with Catherine, there was almost no difference in the night, except that it was an even better time. If people bring so much courage to this world that the world has to kill them to break them, so of course it kills them. The world breaks everyone. And afterward many are strong at the broken places. But those that will not break, it kills. It kills the very good and the very gentle and the very brave impartially. If you are not one of these, you can be sure it will kill you too, but there will be no special hurry. Well, that was a fine time to finish the martini, but it does mean sadness and grief. The martini is done. But luckily, I have here on my desk a fantastic soda. And again, I really need to figure out and justify this. Bonk. Probably left and right justify, honestly. I wonder. Let me check properties. Is there a justification of the box? No. No, not so much. Meh. Meh, indeed. Probably something that OBS can do that I just don't have the slightest idea in. But it is what it is. Meh. Alright. I remember waking in the morning. Catherine was asleep, and the sunlight was coming in through the window. The rain had stopped, and I stepped out of bed and across the floor to the window. Down below were the gardens. Bare now, but beautifully regular. The gravel paths, the trees, the stone wall by the lake, and the lake in the sunlight with the mountains beyond. I stood at the window looking out, and when I looked away, I saw Catherine was awake and watching me. I'm almost certain that OBS can, probably out of the box, do justification for whichever direction you want it to. I just need to Google it. I'm just way too lazy. I'll get around to it, or I'll just keep complaining about it. I'm not sure which is more funny. "How are you, darling?" she said. "Isn't it a lovely day?" "How do you feel?" "I feel very well. We had a lovely night." "Do you want breakfast?" She wanted breakfast. And so did I, and we had it in bed. The November sunlight coming in the window and the breakfast tray across my lap. "Don't you want the paper? You always wanted the paper in the hospital." "No," I said. "I don't want the paper now." "Was it so bad you don't want to even read about it?" "I don't want to read about it." "I wish I had been with you, so I would know about it too." "I'll tell you about it if I ever get it straight in my head." "But won't they arrest you if they catch you out of uniform?" "They'll probably shoot me." "Then we'll not stay here. We'll get out of the country." "I'd thought something of that." "We'll get out, darling. You shouldn't take silly chances. Tell me, how did you come from Mestre to Milan?" "I came on the train. I was in uniform then." "Weren't you in danger then?" Not much. I had an old order of movement. I fixed the dates on it in Mestre." "Darling, You're liable to be arrested here any time. I won't have it. It's silly to do something like that. Where would we be if they took you off? Let's not think about it. I'm tired of thinking about it. What would you do if they came to arrest you? Shoot them. You see how silly you are? I won't let you go out of the hotel until we leave here. Where are we going to go? Please don't be that way, darling. We'll go wherever you say. But please, find some place to go right away. Switzerland is down the lake. We can go there. That will be lovely. Yes, they can go off to Switzerland and meet the honorary Henry. Vic. Remember, all of these classics are relatively close together. I bet there is a family of a certain Vic still in Switzerland. Yeah. And if that's not a way to annoy you to no end, Henry meeting up with Vic, nope. That's I'm gonna wash my hands of that one. That is not a fanfic that I want to put together. It was clouding over outside, and the lake was darkening. I wish we did not have to always live like criminals, I said. Darling, don't be that way. You haven't lived like a criminal very long, and we never lived like criminals. We're going to have a fine time. I feel like a criminal. I've deserted from the army. Darling, please be sensible. It's not deserting from the army. It's only the Italian army. That's a mood. I laughed. You're a fine girl. Let's get back into bed. I feel fine in bed. I bet you do. A little while later, Catherine said, You don't feel like a criminal, do you? No, I said. Not when I'm with you. You're such a silly boy, she said. But I'll look after you. It's splendid, darling. That I don't have any morning sickness. It's grand. You don't appreciate what a fine wife you have, but I don't care. I'll get you someplace where they can't arrest you, and then we'll have a lovely time. Let's go there right away. We will, darling. I'll go any place, any time you wish. Let's not think about anything. All right. All right, that brings us to the end of chapter 34. Let's look ahead a little bit and see how long this next chapter is. It's kind of hefty. That's all right. We started late. We can run over tonight. So, let's continue on with chapter 35. We might have to have a short ad break in the midway if we run over, but I can think of worse things. All right. Catherine went along the lake to the little hotel to see Ferguson and I at the bar, and read the papers. There were comfortable leather chairs in the bar, and I sat in one of them, and read until the barman came in. The army had not stood at the Tagliamento. They were falling back to the Piave. I remembered the Piave. The railroad crossed it near San Dona, going up to the front. It was deep and slow there, and quite narrow. Down below, there were mosquito marshes and canals. There were some lovely villas. Once, before the war, going up the Cortina d'Ampezzo, I had gone along it for several hours in the hills. Up there, it looked like a trout stream, flowing swiftly with shallow stretches and pools under the shadow of the rocks. The road turned off from it at Cadore. I wondered how the army that was up there would come down. The barman came in. Count Greffi was asking for you, he said. Who? Count Greffi. You remember the old man who was here when you were here before? Is he here? Yes, he's here with his niece. I told him you were here. He wants you to play billiards. Where is he? He's taking a walk. How is he? He's younger than ever. He drank 3 champagne cocktails last night, right before dinner. How's his billiard game? Good. He beat me. When I told him you were here, he was very pleased. There's nobody here for him to play with. Count Greffi was 94 years old. He had been a contemporary of Metternich. and was an old man with white hair and moustache and beautiful manners. He had been in the diplomatic service of both Austria and Italy, and his birthday parties were the great social event of Milan. He was living to be 100 years old and played a smoothly fluent game of billiards and contrasted with his own 94-year-old brittleness. I had met him when I had been at Stresa once before, out of season, and while we played billiards, we drank champagne. I thought it was a splendid custom, and he gave me 15 points in 100 and beat me. Why didn't you tell me he was here? I forgot it. Who else is here? No one you know. There are only 6 people altogether. What are you doing now? Nothing. Come on out fishing. I could come for an hour. Come on, bring the trolling line. The barman put on a coat, and we went out. We went down and got a boat, and I rowed while the barman sat in the stern and let out the line with a spinner and a heavy sinker on the end to troll for lake trout. We rowed along the shore, the barman holding the line in his hand and giving it occasional jerks forward. Stresa looked very deserted from the lake. There were the long rows of bare trees, the big hotels and the closed villas. I rowed across to Isola Bella and went close to the walls, where the water deepened sharply, and you saw the rock wall slanting down in the clear water, and then up and along to the fisherman's island. The sun was under a cloud, and the water was dark and smooth and very cold. We did not have a strike through, though we saw some circles on the water from rising fish. I rowed on opposite the fisherman's island, where there were boats drawn up and men were mending nets. Should we get a drink? All right. I brought the boat up to the stone pier, and the barman pulled in the line, coiling it on the bottom of the boat and hooking the spinner on the edge of the gunwale. I stepped out and tied the boat. We went into a little cafe, sat at a bare wooden table, and ordered vermouth. Always with the vermouth. Oof. My only real use for vermouth is either pouring it out as I've wetted the ice in a martini, or adding sweet vermouth to a Manhattan. That's really about the only two uses I have for vermouth. One for each style, drier, sweet. Are you tired from rowing? No, I'll row back, he said. I like to row. Maybe if you hold the line, it will change the luck. All right. Tell me, how goes the war? Rotten. I didn't have to go. I'm too old, like Count Graffy. Maybe you'll have to go yet. Next year, they'll call my class, but I won't go. Good man. Draft Dodger Barman. What will you do? Get out of the country. I wouldn't go to war. I was at the war once in Abyssinia. Nix. Why do you go? I don't know. I was a fool. Have another vermouth? All right. The barman rowed back. We trolled up the lake beyond Stresa and then down, not far from the shore. I held the taut line and felt the faint pulsing of the spinner revolving while I looked at the dark November water of the lake and the deserted shore. The barman rowed with long strokes, and on the forward thrust of the boat the line throbbed. Once I had a strike. The line hardened suddenly, jerked back. I pulled and felt the live weight of the trout, and then the line throbbed again. I had missed him. Did he feel big? Pretty big. Once, when I was out trolling alone, I had the line in my teeth, and one struck and nearly took my mouth out. The best way is to have it over your leg, I said. Then you feel it and don't lose your teeth. I had my hand in the water. It was very cold. We were almost opposite the hotel now. I have to go eating, the barman said. To be there for 11 o'clock. Or the cocktail. All right. 11 o'clock is cocktail hour, huh? Okay. I can adapt. I mean, usually you save that for afternoon, but all right. I pulled in the line and wrapped it on a stick notched at each end. The barman put the boat in a little slip on the shore. Oh, hang on. I just got notice that we've gone past our turning off of pre-roll ads. So I guess now is a good time. Let's take a short ad break to get rid of the pre-rolls because I don't want those. When we get back, we will finish this chapter and then we'll wrap up for the night. So be just a little bit. Thank you very much. Grab a drink, stretch your legs, and we will be back in just a little while. All right, we are back. That should see us to the end of our slots without having to worry about ads again tonight. Good riddance, and goodbye to that. So, let's continue. We don't have a whole lot left. I do want to finish this chapter, and then that'll be the end of our evening. So, let's resume with partway through chapter 25. Anytime you want it, he said. I'll give you the key. Thanks. We went up to the hotel and into the bar. I did not want another drink so early in the morning, so I went up to our room. Did our man just turn down a drink? Holy moly, the world's healing. The maid had just finished doing the room, and Catherine was not back yet. I lay down on the bed and tried to keep from thinking. When Catherine came back, it was all right again. Ferguson was downstairs, she said. She was coming to lunch. I knew you wouldn't mind, Catherine said. No, I said. What's the matter, darling? I don't know. I know. You haven't anything to do. All you have is me, and I go away. That's true. I'm sorry, darling. I know it must be a dreadful feeling to have nothing at all suddenly. My life used to be full of everything, I said. Now, if you aren't with me, I haven't a thing in the world. But I'll be with you. I was only gone for 2 hours. Isn't there anything you can do? I went fishing with the barman. Wasn't it fun? Yes. Don't think about me when I'm not here. That's the way I worked it at the front. But there was something to do then. Othello, with his occupation gone, she teased. Othello was a Negro. I don't often have to self-censor, but you know what? Every once in a while, Hemingway will throw me a curveball. Besides, I'm not jealous. I'm just so in love with you that there isn't anything else. Will you be a good boy and be nice to Ferguson? I'm always nice to Ferguson, unless she curses me. Be nice to her. Think how much we have, and she hasn't anything. I don't think she wants what we have. You don't know much, darling. You're such a wise boy. I'll be nice to her. I know you will. You're so sweet. She won't stay afterward, will she? No, I'll get rid of her. And then we'll come up here. Of course. What do you think I want to do? We went downstairs to have lunch with Ferguson. She was very impressed by the hotel and the splendor of the dining room. We had a good lunch, and with a couple of bottles of white Capri. Count Greffy came into the dining room and found to us his niece, who looked a little like my grandmother. And his niece? This man is quite advanced of age if his niece looks like a grandmother. His niece, who looked a little like my grandmother, was with him. I told Catherine and Ferguson about him, and Ferguson was very impressed. The hotel was very big and grand and empty, but the food was good. The wine was very pleasant, and finally, the wine made us all feel very well. Catherine had no need to feel any better. She was very happy. Ferguson became quite cheerful. I felt very well myself. After lunch, Ferguson went back to her hotel. She was going to lie down for a while after lunch, she said. Along late in the afternoon, someone knocked on our door. Who is it? The Count Greffy wishes to know if you will play billiards with him. I looked at my watch. I'd taken it off, and it was under the pillow. Do you have to go, darling? Catherine whispered. I think I'd better. The watch was 4:15 o'clock. Out loud, I said, Tell the Count Greffy I will be in the billiard room at 5 o'clock. At 5:15, I kissed Catherine goodbye and went into the bathroom to dress. Knotting my tie and looking in the glass, I looked strange to myself. In the civilian clothes. I must remember to buy some more shirts and socks. Will you be away a long time? Catherine asked. She looked lovely in the bed. Would you hand me the brush? I watched her brushing her hair, holding her head so the weight of her hair all came on one side. It was dark outside, and the light over the head of the bed shone on her hair and on her neck and shoulders. I went over and kissed her and held her hand with the brush, and her head sunk back on the pillow. I kissed her neck and shoulders. I felt faint with loving her so much. I don't want to go away. I don't want you to go away. I won't go then. Yes, go. It's only for a little while, and then you'll come back. We'll have dinner up here. Hurry and come back. I found the Count Greffy in the billiard room. He was practicing strokes, looking very fragile under the light that came down above the billiard table. On a card table, a little way beyond the light, was a silver icing bucket with the necks and corks of 2 champagne bottles showing above the ice. The Count Greffy straightened up when I came toward the table and walked toward me. He put out his hand. It is such a great pleasure that you are here. You are very kind to come to play with me. It was very nice of you to ask me. Are you quite well? They told me you were wounded at the Isonzo. Hope you're well again. I'm very well. Have you been well? Oh, I'm always well, but I am getting old. I detect signs of age now. Man, you are 94. If you are just now detecting signs of age, either you're not paying attention or you are fit as a fiddle. I can't believe it. Yes. Do you want to know one? It is easier for me to talk Italian. I discipline myself, but I find when I'm tired that it is so much easier to talk Italian. So I know I must be getting old. We could talk Italian. I'm a little tired too. Oh, but when you're tired, it will be easier for you to talk English. American. Yes, American. You will please talk American. It is a delightful language. Brand new sentences. Brand new sentence right there. I hardly ever see Americans. You must miss them. One misses one's countrymen, and especially one's countrywomen. I know that experience. Should we play, or are you too tired? I'm not really tired. I said that for a joke. What handicap will you give me? Have you been playing very much? None at all. You play very well. 10 points in 100? You flatter me. 15? That would be fine, but you will beat me. Should we play for a stake? You always wish to play for a stake. I think we'd better. All right. I will give you 18 points, and we will play for a franc a point. He played a lovely game of billiards. And with the handicap, I was only 4 ahead at 50. Count Greffy pushed a button on the wall to ring for the barman. Open one bottle, please, he said. Then to me, we will take a little stimulant. The wine was icy cold and very dry and good. Should we talk Italian? Would you mind very much? It is my great weakness now. We went on playing, sipping the wine between shots, speaking in Italian, but talking little. Concentrated on the game. Count Greffy made his 100th point, and with the handicap, I was only at 94. He smiled and patted me on the shoulder. Now, we will drink the other bottle, and you will tell me about the war. He waited for me to sit down. About anything else, I said. You don't want to talk about it? Good. What have you been reading? Nothing, I said. I'm afraid I am very dull. No, but you should read. Indeed, you should read. What is there written in wartime? There is Le Faux by a Frenchman, Barbus. There is Mr. Britling Sees Through It. No, he doesn't. What? He doesn't see through it. Those books were at the hospital. Then you have been reading. Yes, but nothing any good. I thought Mr. Britling a very good study of the English middle-class soul. I don't know about the soul. Poor boy. None of us know about the soul. Are you croyant? At night. Count Greffy smiled and turned the glass with his fingers. I had expected to become more devout as I grew older, but somehow I haven't, he said. It is a great pity. It is funny how that happens. Like, some people get very religious as they age. Others lose their religion as they age. There's not really a whole lot of middle ground on there. It's one or the other, as I've seen. Would you like to live after death? I asked, and instantly felt a fool to mention death. But he did not mind the word. It would depend on the life. This life is very pleasant. I would like to live forever. He smiled. I very nearly have. We were sitting in deep leather chairs. the champagne in the ice bucket, and our glasses on the table between us. If you ever live to be as old as I am, you will find many things strange. You never seem old. It is the body that is old. Sometimes I'm afraid I will break off a finger as one breaks a stick of chalk. And the spirit is no older and not much wiser. You are wise. No, that is the great fallacy, the wisdom of old men. They do not grow wise. They grow careful. Perhaps that is wisdom. It is a very unattractive wisdom. What do you value the most? Someone I love. With me, it is the same. That is not wisdom. Do you value life? Yes, so do I, because it is all I have. And to give birthday parties. Laughed. You are probably wiser than I am. You do not give birthday parties. We both drank the wine. What do you think of the war? Really? I asked. I think it is stupid. Who will win it? Italy. Why? They are a younger nation. Do younger nations always win wars? They are apt to, for a time. Then what happens? They become older nations. You said you were not wise. Dear boy, that is not wisdom. That is cynicism. It sounds very wise to me. It's not particularly. I could quote you the examples on the other side, but it is not bad. Have we finished the champagne? Almost. Should we drink some more? Then I must dress. Perhaps we'd better not now. You're sure you don't want more? Yes. He stood up. I hope you will be very fortunate, and very happy, and very, very healthy. Thank you. And I hope you will live forever. Thank you. I have. And if you ever become devout, pray for me if I am dead. I am asking several of my friends to do that. I had expected to become devout myself, but it has not come. I thought he smiled sadly, but I could not tell. He was so old, and his face was very wrinkled, so that a smile used so many lines that all the gradations were lost. I might become very devout, I said. Anyway, I will pray for you. I had always expected to become devout. All my family died very devout, but somehow it does not come. It's too early. Maybe it's too late. Perhaps I have outlived my religious feeling. My own comes only at night. Then, too, you are in love. Do not forget, that is a religious feeling. You believe so? Of course. He took a step toward the table. You were very kind to play. It was a great pleasure. We will walk upstairs together. All right, that brings us to the end of chapter 35. Let's go ahead and set a bookmark here, because this will be where we finish for tonight. And let's get over to out of our reading nook. I have to say, I really like Count Greffy. Like, sometimes you get the, cantankerous old men. This was just this is the sort of old man that I want to be, what I strive to be. Friendly, sociable, not judgy, just in for a good time, and for a long time. That's a good way to be. And I think we should all strive to be more like Greffy. Yeah, it's like several of the side characters in this book are fantastic. The barman was great. The cafe owner who didn't ask questions, just, are you in trouble, can I help? Great. A lot of the soldiers have been awesome. Sadly, a lot of the soldiers have gone beyond. But really, aside from the flashes of Henry that we see in the main character, most of the characters are very, very likable. Funnily enough, Catherine and the main character are the most annoying that we've come across, I think, so far, which is kind of telling. I think maybe that's just because we see more of them than most, and with familiarity comes contempt, I guess. Or so the saying goes. Or I guess it's familiarity breeds contempt, is the saying, I think it is. Anyway, this has been our 5th night reading from A Farewell to Arms. We're at about 77%, so likely there's a decent chance that we will, if we take a long night on Sunday, we might finish. If not, we can look forward to finishing up on Tuesday. So just depending on how far we get in the next 2 readings, or the next reading, it's either a 1 or a 2 session to finish. Luckily, we've got the Devil's Dictionary to pull us through as a bit of a stopgap. We've enjoyed reading our little bit of satire in between books, so we'll keep on going with that, I think, and have a good time of it. All right, so with that, I think let's go ahead and wrap up for the evening. Let's see if any of our friends or any other readers are out tonight. We've had some decent luck with Friday night raids, so let's see if there's anyone we've got that we can stop in and annoy, or give our best, one way or the other. Let's see, someone's reading Bedtime Storytime, The Ghost and Mrs. Muir. That's interesting. Oh, somebody's reading the Odyssey. That's oh boy. We had fun with the Odyssey, but that's a little heavy. As I say that's heavy as we're reading A Farewell to Arms, which is very heavy. You know what? We've collected enough people. Let me see if we'll just go sort by following now, and see if anybody that we know is either reading or having fun. So EM is just starting, and we haven't. You know what? We haven't been to EM in a little while. So let's go ahead and raid over to Majekril, who is reading Blood of Elves, the one of the first. Yeah, we've got a nice built-up little group, and so it's nice to go back to old friends from time to time. But let's go ahead and visit EM tonight. This is one of the Witcher books that I've actually read, which is a bit of a shock because I haven't read very many of them. So this will be a nice return to things. So let's go ahead and give Majekril our best. As we raid in and have a good time. Those of you who are new here, just a reminder, we dual stream over on both YouTube and Twitch. And all of our VODs are on YouTube for perpetuity. So feel free to give us a follow there, like on this stream. It lets the algorithm know that we're up to some good fun. And if you're ever in the need for some background noise, I have on good authority that we do pretty well on that front. If you're over on Twitch, we have just recently hit affiliate status. We're doing very well. We're growing at a steady pace, considering the very niche nature of our channel. I'm extremely happy with the progress we've made, and I'm eager for more adventures together as we go on. If you have any suggestions or requests for what we should do with our newfound affiliate status, what we should do with our subscriptions and bonuses and perks to give out, feel free to drop me a line. I'm all ears because I'm not very good at Twitch. So, I'll leave that to the experts. We've got a few things cooking, but we'll see what comes up. All right, we're going to raid over to EM right now. Be sure to give him our very best. And until next time, have a wonderful night. Thank you, and goodbye.
Hello! Oh, how are we doing? We're doing the journal reading today. I'm going to put the song list up. If you want to throw a song out there, I started the day off with Marshmallow World because it is currently very cold and there's about a half a foot of snow on the ground that fell fresh on Wednesday night. Hi, it's Ian Sue. Welcome to the stream. Here's my song list. What were you up to, Arthur Irving Rush? You were playing writing and reading, as we do, as one does. What are you reading these days? You're reading Hemingway, A Farewell to Arms. I have never read any of the Ernest or the Hemingway, or A Farewell, or possibly Arms. I might have done some of those, but certainly not all in roughly that order. Is it good? How far are you? I intend to one of these days. I intend to. Or working with your Don Quixote, is that you or is that somebody else? I get confused. Very first book was Hemingway, so this is a nice period of form, about 3/4 of the way through this one. That feels like me. Hey, Vivian, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. It's been a while. Hope you're well. I was working my way through parts of Tales of the Shire and just remembering you hanging out here and us reading The Hobbit. I finally got new achievements on that intentionally for the first time in over 2 months. I finally met a bunch of people, took a picture, and everything. Those were the good times. We're going to get back to the Lord of the Rings. I bought a lovely edition. I don't know if you were here for that. I bought a lovely edition, which is sitting there behind my Hobbit of the Lord of the Rings. We're going to do that later in the year. And now you know Arthur Irving Rush. And your turn. You got through book 1 of Don Quixote a month or 2 ago. You're taking a bit of a break. Absolutely, Arthur Irving Rush. That was the same plan I followed. They're huge. I feel like it's not difficult reading. Don Quixote is absolutely quite readable. You don't get too lost in the footnotes of various editions. You choose translation that isn't too weird. I feel like you're never going to quite finish it. So I'm going to be coming back to that one later. All right, so where are we at? Don Q is very silly and fun, to be honest. You love it. It's just so long. And wandery. It's like, are we telling the story of Don Quixote? Are we telling the story of the story that Don Quixote remembers?